Hello, 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 everyone. Happy Wednesday. I'm Claire Jones. If we haven't already met, I am an author, speaker, and mentor committed to creating a better world through inclusive stories and practices. And we are jumping on today for my Visionaries in Transition Facebook Live series, where I interview the amazing and inspiring impact makers in my network to discuss the transitions that have shaped our lives, because they are many. We cannot avoid them. They happen whether we want them to or not. So if you're joining us, please like, comment, share below. Let us know that you're here. And today I'm talking to Ashley Roda. She's a brand strategist and like my favorite brander on the face of the planet. So I'm so glad to have her here.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So let's get into it. Backstory. How'd you get to where you are today?
Okay, we're going in heavy. I like it. How the hell did you get here?
I know it's such a simple question, but it's such a hard answer too.
It is. It really is. I have to be honest. I feel like it came through the trap door, the side door, the back door, something, but definitely not the linear, traditional, typical role. So, I think to keep it as short and sweet as I can, I've always been entrepreneurial. I had a few businesses, more hobbies turned profitable. And then my first core business was working as an image consultant. So the ABCs, appearance, behavior, communication. I was passionate about being a wardrobe stylist. I was complimented on just kind of my appearance and how I presented myself. And I felt like I was really able to see people and help them just better express themselves instead of just waking up and wearing PJs and, that was it for them. And giving them a little bit more freedom. And through that work, I worked with some really incredible people, and they kept coming to me and saying things like, hey, Ashley, you see me in a way that others don't. And I'm working with a website developer, a graphic designer, so literally whatever it was. And they're doing this, but what would you do? Like, what would you think? Or my favorite one, which was actually my very first client, good friend of mine, she came to me because she was hiring a brand strategist and had the contract. And she was like, would you read over it? Does it make sense? Is this everything I should want and need? Like, down to the deliverables. And I'm reading the contract and I was like, it for what you're getting seems like a reasonable price. There are a few extra things that I might add into this, like make sure you request this, this, and this. And so somehow I had all these friends and all these experts, and I was like matching them. And it took a business coach telling me I was running an agency. And I have to tell you, I did not intend to, I didn't mean to. And it was just kind of that framework that gave me the next evolution of my business, which was being a brand strategist, designer, and director. So now I work more like a general contractor in construction, let's say. So I'm brought in as the creative director, and I have a team of vendors, depending on what we need. Do we need carpentry, lines, like whatever it is? And then I pull them in to create a dream team for my clients.
And I love how you talked about the flow and the ease of it, because I feel like, I don't know whether I want to call it the millennial way of life, but I feel like we've been conditioned to follow our passions so much as millennials, and we end up monetizing them some way, somehow along the line. And then all of a sudden we're like, oh shit, this can be a career.
Yeah. And I have to say, I don't feel millennial at all about it, to be honest, because like full transparency, I went to school for pre-med. So like I'm nowhere near what I was supposed to do. And the version of me that you see today is a very different, I would say, black and white version of who I was a few years ago in the should cycle of life. Like you should become a doctor, a lawyer, a policeman, like whatever the traditional role was. And I was so committed to that. I was in denial of being an artist, to be honest. Like I don't even think I would say I considered myself a designer until maybe like a year or two ago. Seriously. Even though I've been doing this now for 9 years, I'm still in denial of not being like the corporate ladder climber person. I've never worked in an agency, a creative agency, a marketing agency, nothing like that. So there was a lot of denial for me of denying what I truly was. Like, when in doubt, if you leave me alone, I'm not reading like the Atlas of Anatomy. I'm creating, I'm usually painting the walls, or I'm, and I say that, but I mean that, like literally painting the walls like an accent color. Like I was just so in denial of it. And so it's nice to finally feel into it and like be rowing in the same direction of my natural talent, not in the opposite.
I love that you brought that up, because I think that's very common for creatives, and artist is kind of a dirty word.
Yeah, we're supposed to be broke and like with multiple roommates and all these things. I'm happy to say I live alone and I'm not broke.
And like this whole concept of the broke, starving artist isn't really a set in stone thing either. Like it wasn't actually created until the Bohemians came into play, like turn of the century France. Like that's when we started to divorce from this whole patron structure for creatives. You know? You think of the Medici and you think of all of these like strong, very financially successful families over the years who have sponsored the arts. And that's how artists made their living for centuries, until the Bohemians came through and like just smoked cigarettes in cafes and talked about philosophy.
And, by all means, however it looks for you. But I think there was a lot of unlearning. And I'm sure many of the guests that you have, I would assume talk about this, but just you don't realize the level of programming.
Totally.
Raising a good kid includes and infuses. And it's just, I'm on a mission, an absolute, like, I feel like there needs to be like a detox rehab center for society.
Well, therapy.
But like more so, like, I mean, there's like a level that you can get to where it's almost like you feel like I'm blessed. I've never been through like a drug rehab kind of situation, but I can only imagine what like the coming down and the sobering and the like detox of that is, and the cravings and things. I am just trying to get out of that, and
totally.
And realizing many of the limiting beliefs and just facts are not facts and are not true. It's been interesting.
Mindsets are just as dangerous as addictions. Like, because it's all chemical at the end of the day. It's all on our brain, and we have more control over it than I think we realize.
Yeah.
So let's talk about transitions.
Yeah.
What were the main transitions throughout this journey that pivoted you one way or another?
Yeah. So I had fun thinking of this because I realized it was my identity shifts throughout my story. So it wasn't ever necessarily one thing. It was just the observation that this one thing kept happening, which was identity shift. And so for me, just to keep it kind of short and simple here, I wrote a few down just so I don't mess this up. But, my first one was I grew up as a competitive athlete. So being an athlete and then no longer being an athlete, being a student after you graduate, I felt like there was like some like magical thing that would happen and I'd be an adult. And like, no, you're just like, it's the next day.
There's no magic wand.
I was like, oh, that there was no transformation there. Okay, cool. And then relationships, getting in, getting out, changing that, both romantically and familial. So family relationships, but as a business owner too, going from the startup phase to a business owner, to an expert, to a CEO, all of those came with their own set of stretch marks. Thank you so much. And for me, I can say I do know the day it happened and where I was and when it all happened, but it was a golden question that kind of came up for me of what if, philosophical question, life question here, but like, what if there was a sense of identity that was never dumped, fired, diluted, changed, or like stripped from us, but like this core identity maybe that we could tap into that was only like refined and applied and infused at every new phase. So we didn't have to go through this huge identity crisis of, oh my God, who am I now? Or what's next for me? And have no clarity and that, existential crisis, which I know you and I love to do. We've done a couple Phoenix burnings, just burn it all down. So for me, looking back, and the privilege of this interview has actually given me an opportunity because I realize now my work, while some people associate branding as logos, business cards, and websites, truthfully, branding is establishing the identity of a company or a person or a thing. And finding a way that it can be humanized and given life and given permission and directive to tell the people what to do and how to do it and when to do it. And so for me, I realized, wow, branding is really identity, and branding is really identifying those details that make you iconic, or those details that can't be stripped, dumped, fired, changed, diluted, but really understood, documented, and then referenced at times of transition. And that, yeah, look, you can make it up. Goosebumps. Woo! Goosies. I mean, that was it for me. And I was like, wow, okay.
Yeah. And this is a huge thing that we touch on in a lot of these interviews, is the shift from external to internal, and having your frame of reference come from the internal sense of whether it's identity or truth or value, or however you define it for yourself. It's that shift from putting that as the compass rather than the external forces as the compass. Because like you're saying, with this track line that we're encouraged to follow of become a doctor, become a lawyer, become this, become that, that's the external compass that's driving us to do that. But it's a matter of shifting it to the internal compass that will be like, yes, I am actually an artist. I am actually a creative. I am actually a social worker, a librarian, whatever teacher you want to inhabit.
Yeah, goat yoga instructor. Booyah. And I don't care what it is, but there's that identity of, you know, animal lover and exercise enthusiast, like whatever that core is in you that then can evolve. Because I know myself, and everybody I know has gone through phases and chapters and evolutions, like, and it can be defined by so many different things, you know, career changes, relationship changes, honest to God, animal deaths. That's a big thing right now. A friend just lost her dog, and I swear to God, we're having, you know, the era of Lucy, seriously, rest her soul, but era of Lucy, and I have my era of Max. Like it just doesn't matter what it is, but oh my God, these times can just rock you to your core. And, you know, and then there's other ones, sudden deaths, severe illness, terminal diseases, like whatever you got to go through to get here. Like, first of all, God, I wish you luck. Like, hold tight, just like strap in, here you go. Cause like, you are not going to pop out the other side of this the same way. And it's definitely a triggering event in my work, you know, pivotal moments. Sometimes we can be very, you know, talk shop and just say like, yeah, income shifts, that'll change you. Growth phases, that'll change you. Or buying and selling business, that'll change you. Or it can just be 2 years in the trenches and now you know better. You're going to wrap that a little differently, you know, like putting on, sometimes you just get into your business and you're just like, I don't feel this way anymore. It doesn't reflect who I am and the person I want to be today, and the privilege we get to design our life. And people don't see it that way. They think branding is a vending machine of logos.
I mean, it can be, but I wouldn't recommend it.
No, please. Yeah. If you get one for $9.95, I've got an opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I almost think of it as like an archaeological dig too, is like you're drawing away these layers of dirt, these layers of earth, and you're like, oh, I have a temple in front of me. So the temple is like the core of who I am, and I'm going to make my decisions based on this temple. But then the next life event comes along and you come back to this archaeological dig site and you're like, wait, let's see what's underneath the temple. And so then you're like, well, it actually has like several layers of basements that I need to explore, and like crypts and wine cellars and like all kinds of stuff down there. Whatever is that? I'm just making shit up.
I love the two. I was like, wine cellars. I was like, you get that. Like left field out of that one, but I like your temple. I like your temple.
I mean, like whatever it is, I'm just coming up with stuff. Is like, you remove those layers of dirt and those layers of earth, and each time you get to a deeper understanding of this core self, but it does take time to unearth it. Like you can't just like magic wand the dirt away and have like the statue or the temple in front of you. It's and like,
if anyone knows how, please tell me.
Right. And you have to get dirty doing it.
Right. Yes. Yeah, you do. And I think it's interesting though, because I hate to use the analogy, but it's very accurate. It's that analogy of the diamond, that it takes pressure to be pure, and like the higher the temperature, the higher the pressure, the more pure it is. And like, you just keep refining and refining, and it's the clarity too of it. Like, yeah. And it's weird though too, because the more you excavate it, even beliefs change. Like, everything that I thought was like permanent in life, like 2 + 2 is 4, just gravity, like law, like true law.
Yeah.
Shit, that shit is up for grabs. Like, not necessarily. Like, so crazy.
Yeah. So what lessons came along?
Oh God. I am not that prepped on that one. The first one that I always say, everything is who you know, and perfect timing. Number 1. Trust but verify. I do still believe that. I'm gonna be evil. Don't assume the best. Don't assume people are good. Don't assume they have good hearts. I highly would not.
That's interesting in relation to the trust but verify one as well. Is like, do you trust things that people say at face value, but then verify it later? Like, how does that interact with the third?
So with that, this is not a blank statement for all people. I'm speaking just for myself, but my intuition is spot on. So trust first starts with myself, in my own intuition of what I'm picking up on. Because if I feel like there's some, I'm usually right about that. So first it's with my intuition of trust, but verify. Then it's, to the level that you can be screwed, which I hope is okay to say this, but like on certain things, like, okay, you're going to, so what? You bought the wrong sheets, color for sheets. So what? You're out $25, go buy the next pair. Fine. If it's, $1,000 deal, now we need to really like trust but verify on this stuff. New partnerships. I'm going through this right now. A potential referral partner of mine says that they have the ability to do a lot of things. I don't have experience that one team can do all said things. So I'm eager to slowly step into this and see what the quality is, what's true and what's not. Face value, I appreciate you. Yes, let's continue forward. I trust my instincts are saying this is good. Let's see where it goes. And then I will be definitely verifying. So, in their first round of presentation of capability, I also have my team validating that on the areas I don't know. So, or I have above average knowledge, but I'm not an expert of that specific thing. So I just find, everybody says they can do things. Everybody says, it's, they're a good person. Everybody says these things, but I find when I lived life assuming the best in all people, I was disappointed 90% of the time.
Interesting.
When I changed and started not assuming the worst, I don't want it to come off that, but just being
assuming neutral, I think is
neutral to it, like whatever. I'm now surprised by the good people, and they stand out, and I can see it easier than when I was trying to make everyone a good person. Like, it's just not the case. And that has created a invisible armor of scars that, I think has grounded me, weighted me. It's almost like those weighted blankets, that comfort you. This isn't a victim story. This isn't an, oh my God, I've been, dealt a bad hand. I got the hand I got, and I've pretty much done some damn good shit with it, in my opinion. So like, there it is.
I thought of the metaphor of like rose-colored glasses. Like, we're not using the rose-colored glasses, but we're also not using like the black-colored glasses.
Yeah.
It's like, we're just using our eyeballs.
I think, take the glasses off for whatever color it is or whatever you think it is. Like, there's going to be some layer in front of you. Loyalty is another lesson that I don't know if it's a lesson as much as a value. It's my number one value. It was funny. I don't know that I should even say this because it's so stupid, but I'm going to. So the TV show, Selling Sunset, they're like they're glamorized realtors. Well, one of them ends up breaking up with a husband who's like a star that we all know of. And he has a new movie out. I wouldn't even watch it because I'm so loyal to her. I don't even know her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, that's next level loyalty, right? I'm like, like, you did her wrong.
Yeah.
I'm not watching that new Christmas movie with him in it. No. No.
Well, it also makes me think of like the first lesson that you brought up too, and surrounding yourself with the right people.
Oh yeah.
Because doing all of these steps along the way contribute to each other. Absolutely. Like not using rose-colored glasses, verifying before you move forward, and surrounding yourself with the right people. Like the right people's the end point.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I mean, it's kind of the other ones get you to the right people, right?
Exactly. Which inspires the sense of loyalty.
Yeah. I would also say another one is just trust your knowing. If you like, I don't care what the situation is. If you know 2 + 2 = 4, if something, the universe is not saying that, you stick to it, you trust it until the end. Like, that's a big one. I think, just trust what you know to be true.
And I think there's a difference between verifying and second guessing too.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Because like we're talking about trusting yourself, and like I want to verify that 2 + 2 = 4 still for me. But I also don't want to like continually second guess myself and have that become a tripping up behavior.
Yeah. So when I think we get into second guessing is one, reference. Like you got to have your points to just double check things. Like, of course, like double check your numbers. Like, yeah, cool. But also that might be a little bit of trauma seeking in where people are telling you otherwise. Like you don't second guess unless someone's making you second guess.
Yeah. Or has made you second guess in the past. And
I think that's like an outside influence when we start second guessing ourselves, and that's whether it's comparisonitis, whether it's outside forces, but I don't think internally we second guess ourselves to second guess ourselves. Like, not really. Oh man.
Yeah. Well, what about practices that you've used along the way to support yourself through these transitions? I know you're a huge journaler.
I am. I do love a good journal. So I'm trying to think here. Journaling, documenting. This one might be a trauma response, so I'll own this one, but I document because again, I don't have to second guess if it's written down, and I can just reference what I know to be true. Yeah. So journaling, documenting, that's a big one. The little things. So this sounds silly, but like putting my tea out the night before makes me feel like someone made it for me the next day.
Yeah.
Or just having my outfit decided on the night before, so it's one less decision the next day. Kind of just being ritual in everything that I don't do things that are just not with intention, you know? Yeah.
Well, you told me recently about your master spreadsheet that you have going on that I absolutely loved. So go over that a little bit for the audience.
Is that the KPI tracker thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it's an OCD love fest. Let's be honest. Like I don't know. So what I started was, everybody wants you to keep track of this, that, and whatever, and like all these things, and everybody has their way. Well, I just started like this master one. And the idea was once a week to do like a personal check-in. And of course, there's like the social media section. There's the finance section. So that's like what's in the bank, what's coming in the bank, what's going out of the bank. Both are the credit cards. This is stupid, but like people track this stuff. What is your current credit score? I never was tracking that. Didn't even think that that was like a number. I thought it was going to be like an SAT score that just slowly slipped away in life. Like it didn't matter. Turns out it does. Tracking those. Then it goes into the classes I'm in. So I would have like NLA, High Minds, this, that, whatever, like whatever courses I'm currently signed up in. And then it goes into a weekly journal, a money journal where I'm, how did I feel about money? What were the challenges this month? What's her next assignment? What was frustration with her? Then at the end, it's kind of a mental journal where it's like, and I'm saying this across, by the way, in case anyone wants to replicate this. Also, I'm kind of thinking I should do a class on this. It'd be fun. Anyways, I'm just saying, if that sounds fun, somebody let me know. Anyways, at the end, it's like, notes from the week, again, document notes from the week, celebrations, challenges, what support do I need? So like, I need to call this person, or I need help with this, or like, what support do I need? Because again, we never ask for help. That's my favorite challenging column. And then, this is random, but the serenity prayer, God grant me serenity for the things that I can't change and courage for those things that I can. So I have a serenity column and a courage column, because I get frustrated during the week. Like, this is not in my control, but and then things that, okay, truthfully, I can't do this. Okay. So that perspective. And each week I go across all these bloody columns, and yeah, it takes a second, but eventually you kind of get into it. And it was interesting to just see a month at a time. And then this, so it's all in one spreadsheet. Okay. So you can go back, and I would do like monthly totals, quarterly totals, if it was numerical, but just to look back and be like, oh, hey, I feel like I've been struggling with this forever, but it's been a week. That perspective we get. So yeah, that's the KPI tracker. And I've renamed it now to the scoreboard, because I feel like that just makes it better.
Yeah. No, I absolutely love it. I mean, I love color-coded spreadsheets. Like, give me a color-coded spreadsheet and I'm good. But
and it even turns colors. Like if your credit score goes up or down on a certain, you set the status, it's either green or red. Woo, love that part.
And I love how it combines all facets too. Like, that's what I think rises it above the rest, is like, we get all of these journals that are like, track how much water you intake every day, and how many steps did you walk today, and did you eat healthy meals, did you meditate, did you sleep well, like all of those softer items, but you're also balancing it with the harder items of financials and social media engagements and all of those things. And
and it made it simpler to just have it in one. I mean, I get it. I've got like, I don't know how many this way, and whatever, but it did help. And then I did color code it. So like the money section is green, our NLA was purple, our this was that, that kind of stuff. It's funny you brought that up, because this is a hot topic. Like literally this week was talking to my friend and I, we both decided to diet. I know, every woman, hold prayers. Anywho, so she's all into the, I started tracking my steps and I'm journaling my food and I'm doing all of this. I said, well, that is the most depressing way to start a diet. Like my plan is, can I even just get to the gym 3 times this week? Because I'm going to tell you, if you want me to start tracking what I'm eating, I'm going to eat more. Because that's depressing. I don't respond well to that. So I think the other thing about my like Build-A-Bear Excel sheet is like, decide what's important for you, decide what you want to do. Totally. And I think that's also a big theme in my world, which I think you'll attest to, is be self-defined, whatever your definition is from everything. Like right now I'm realizing I'm coming into a definition of joy. How do I define joy? Is joy a cheat day on a diet, or is joy getting a $10,000 sale? Like, what is your definition of joy? And in everything in life, but what's important for you to be tracking? Because I'm going to tell you, every coach, every person, Claire, myself, is going to tell you to track something. But if you don't have the wherewithal to know what is for you and what's not, you're going to go down some rabbit holes. I am currently—
That's just busy work then too, because then you're just creating chores for yourself by creating all of these tasks that you don't even want to do in the first place.
Exactly. Like, I'm not going to lie to anybody here. This first section on the social media, we're changing what we were tracking. So I have someone else coming in on my team now that's like, okay, that's cute. You guys are tracking the vanity shit. Like, it's time to look at this stuff. So, whatever it is. And sometimes it's important one year to track this and the next year to track that. And, you're going to change. But that's what I like about this tracker.
Yeah. I love that. Well, I kind of want to leave it at that, like this whole self-definition thing. I don't know if there's anything what you want to add before we wrap up, but like that in itself is so powerful.
Yeah. Be self-defined. What do I want to add to that? I'm just thinking that's freedom. That is true freedom. It reminds me of, I'll try and keep this short and sweet, but it reminds me of my approach to my work, right? So I have kind of figured out that there's two approaches, applied and identified. Applied is where these brands are kind of, companies are painted with the brand, right? They give them a logo, they give them a website, they give them color palettes that are preset. And identified is when we go in and actually figure out who they are, what they are, and kind of extract it out of them. And to keep this short and on point, I think when we live by the definitions preset by the world and society, it's applied to us and we're trying to like live within that. Versus when we self-define these things, God, I'm getting goosebumps today. This must be truth. My goodness. When we use those as like parameters to then decide what our self-defining most important terms are within that, then I think we really find the true freedom, you know, and use broad categories to find your self-defined terms within, you know, family, religion, politics, like use those as broad areas. And then if the world gives, you know, 5 different areas of that, look at it, take what works, take what doesn't, but define it for you. I think that's the big thing.
Yeah. Find your basement.
No, you're freaking wine cellar, girl. What are you doing? Forget. That was good. I was like, ooh, yeah.
I love that. All right. So per usual, this is powerful stuff that we're talking about here because a lot of these themes impact us in a lot of different ways. And I love these conversations that we have. So audience, we definitely encourage you to share your own thoughts and feelings and insights with us as well, because we'd want to know how these transitions have shaped you in your own lives. So special thanks to Ashley again for joining me today. It's been a pleasure, per usual. So please comment, like, subscribe below. Check out linktree/clairjoyance for all of my links. And then where can people find out more about you?
I think the easiest thing would be sending you over to my website, iconicdetails.com. Everything is linked there. Probably the best way to find out all things.
I'll make sure to put the links in the comments too, so everyone can easily access them. Yeah. And then until next time, please remember that your authentic self is extraordinary. It is wonderful. And you owe it to yourself to create the elevated life that you know you are capable of. Take care, everyone.
Bye.